Most of my adult life, I have considered myself a moderate Republican. However, there is one section of this party I know nothing about, the Tea Party. Depending on where you get your political news can alter your perception of this group, so I decided to look for myself. Is the modern-day Tea Party an organization of hate or one of pride? In 2012, CBS News and the New York Times surveyed 1,580 adults, over 800 of which considered themselves Tea Party supporters. Of this group, 89% were white, 59% were male, 36% lived in the South. They are more religious than the average American, with 38% attending a weekly religious service. Typically gun owners, 58% admit to owning a firearm. Tea Party supporters are more educated than the average American, with 37% having a college degree, as opposed to 25% of Americans overall. However, 78% of these supporters have never attended a rally, given money to a Tea Party organization or a Tea Party-backed candidate, or visited a Tea Party website. Recently, I had a discussion with Thomas Farrell, a local Tea Party supporter, and his main reason for being a supporter was to take back his country. He didn't agree with the direction the United States was headed and thought the government was imposing too much on its citizens' lives. In his opinion, the main purpose of the government was to protect the people. In an article written by Jeff Nesbitt, he believes the Tea Party was made as a reaction to Bill Clinton being elected president in 1993 by Big Oil, Big Tobacco, with backing by a Coke Industry, a privately owned company specializing in manufacturing, trade, and investments. The original name was CSE, Citizens for a Sound Economy. The purpose of this group was to infiltrate Washington by taking over one political party to do their work. Backing by the Koch brothers and Philip Morris, the tobacco giant, organized groups in several states and began to protest the increase in taxes. Each state was different, and groups would protest the taxes that most affected that area. CSE knew Americans hated taxes, and it was the easiest way to create a movement. They worked side by side with corporations and their employees to start this grassroots movement, but little did the people know it was backed by the biggest oil and tobacco companies in the world. Planning took years. To be successful, they would have to complete several steps. 1, they would have to embody academic network to support them intellectually and would place people in universities to draw support. 2, they would need to deploy people to work closely with those at the state levels who influence policy. They would also need to control the media coverage to make it desirable to the average Americans. Finally, they would need to organize a national group to coordinate funding and compliance, to avoid chaos in a political field that ran amok from typical American principles. By the spring of 2009, funding was in place. The Sam Adams Alliance directed the grassroots effort. The Franklin Center for Government and Public Integrity directed the media, and the State Policy Network coordinated funding at the state level for the universities to link together. The CSE had succeeded. The Tea Party received its name by CNBC network Rick Santelli, who referenced the Boston Tea Party in response to President Barack Obama's mortgage relief plan. Working Americans were tired of seeing big corporations in the banking industry being bailed out with taxpayer money, and the angry bonded together to protest the federal government in its attempt to bypass the free market system. Social media sites began to pop up that would resonate with libertarian and dissatisfied Republican voters. Conservative commentators such as Glenn Beck with the Fox News Network picked up the cause, and the first protests were scheduled April 15, 2009, Tax Day. Sarah Palin, the former governor of Alaska, was the keynote speaker at the first Tea Party National Convention in 2010. Republican leaders began to promote and organize this new movement. However, not all Republicans were on board and openly refuted the Tea Party. However, in the 2010 midterm elections, Republicans, some that were Tea Party backed, took control of both the House and the Senate. The divide between the Tea Party and the Republicans came together after an IRS scandal came to light of them targeting and investigating conservative non-for-profit groups. The investigation turned up nothing. The government shutdown of 2013, which some largely blame on the Tea Party, caused the group to lose footing going into the 2014 elections. In 2015, with the second government shutdown looming over funding of Planned Parenthood, Speaker of the House John Boehner resigned. The Tea Party and the House Free Caucus backed Paul Ryan to take his place. October 2015, satisfaction with the GOP was at its lowest levels in decades, which gave rise to unusual presidential candidates. Ben Carson, a prominent neurosurgeon, and Donald Trump became the new face of the GOP, which has to make you wonder if the original cause of the CSA came to fruition. Is the Tea Party a love child between corporate America, big oil, and tobacco, or is it the movement of average Joes taking back their country? In researching this group, I do see similarities in the modern-day Tea Party and the Boston Tea Party. Taxation without representation has been part of our government since day one. The American citizens demand control of the government, when controlled for the people, by the people. Is the Tea Party of today going down as a pivotal moment in our nation's history? Only time will tell.